Hey everybody, Belinda Wasser here from the Virtual Assistant Connection. It is Wednesday afternoon and it's been a really fun day, and I'm so happy to be here with you right now to talk about is being a virtual assistant for you. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of time to jump on to our live stream because it's just there's a little delay and I want to make sure that everybody can join us. So while we do that, I'm going to ask everyone who's joining us to let me know in the chat where you're coming in from. Okay. This morning we had, this morning on the weekly webinar, we had people from all over the place. It's always so exciting to me to think about how far the reach is, you know, of the community and of helping each other. We had people from Chicago. We had people from, let's see, what were the other places? I'm trying to think. I am trying to remember. But anyway, I was just on a call a minute ago with the accelerator group, and I've got accelerators in Las Vegas and Chattanooga and Oregon and all over the place. So just let me know where you are coming in from in the chat. And you know what else? I would love to know. I would love to know where you are in your VA journey. Are you just starting out? Are you thinking about it? So if you put that in the chat, that would be really great. Really great. While we're just waiting a couple minutes for everyone to join us. Here comes some more people. This is awesome. So it's been a really fun day. We did a webinar this morning on the niche and if it's important or not. And you know, I don't think about that. I hadn't thought about that very much. So I really enjoyed developing that and thinking it through. So that's going to be available until tomorrow at about 10 o'clock, and then it's going to go into the vault of the VIP club. So if you're thinking about a niche, watch that video, and I think it'll be very useful. Okay, so we've been here a couple of minutes. I'm going to just start. So today we're talking about is being a virtual assistant for you. Now, I have come up with some questions I'm going to show you in a minute. I want you to put your questions in the comments. I want all your questions answered. So we're going to talk about getting clients, pricing. We're going to talk about everything you want to talk about. And a lot of it's going to be really driven by you, okay? All right, this is awesome. So this person is about 2 months in, learning how to be a VA. Great. I'm planning on launching my business 1/1/21. That's a great date, 1/1/21. I love that. Okay, so for those of you who are new, I'm just going to tell you my story. This is my little delicious daughter, Emily. She's now 19 and she's off at college. And when I started my business, I was not in my ideal setting. I was getting divorced, needing to support myself, no other secondary streams of income. I needed to sell my house. I had not been able to make the mortgage payment for well over a year, tons of debt, you know, and it felt crushing. It felt like I didn't know what to do. And so I, talked to friends, and I decided that since I'd been an admin in the past and a receptionist, and I had some administrative skills, that I would be a VA. And honestly, I didn't even know what a VA was, because when I started 10 years ago, it wasn't as well known, and in some ways, it's still not that well known. Among entrepreneurs, it is, but a lot of the world still doesn't know what a VA is. So I feel like our industry is in kind of an infancy, which is great news. There's no saturation at all. Clients are everywhere, and I think it's a great time to be a VA. But when you see me here talking about all this, keep in mind that my experience is 10 years old. 10 years, that's a whole person, right? 10 years. So keep that in mind as you're listening to everything that I'm talking about. So what I did was I told everybody about what I was up to, and it started to catch on. And so, like I said, now I've been in business for 10 years. And during that time, I've worked with over 200 clients. because clients come and go, and I've created from this actual chair that I'm sitting in right now, $1 million of revenue, because the first year I made about $70,000. The second year I made $100,000, and I've crossed over the $100,000 mark in either 102,000 all the way up to one year I made $140,000. So in 10 years from working at home, I was able to produce $1 million, which when I realized that this year, I wasn't really thinking about it in like as an accumulation, but that can happen. And I want to tell you though, I'm not a unicorn, right? I want you to understand that I don't have a marketing degree. I didn't have some group of clients waiting. My skills were, my biggest skill was I like to figure stuff out. And so, if someone gives me a challenge, I'm all over it. But I knew some HTML. I built a website on AOL for my nephew, years ago. I knew how to use Constant Contact. I knew how to use Office. And that was kind of it. And I had been an admin in the past, but the administrative work that I did when I had a job as an admin was really very different from what I do today, because honestly, there were computers, but the internet was just kind of starting, and the world is completely different. So I just want you to know that there wasn't anything special. And I don't want to say I'm not special. We're all special, but I didn't have any special thing that I came to the table with. Social media was brand new 10 years ago, at least in terms of it being an everyday kind of a thing. And I didn't know, a lot of the high-tech stuff that many VAs know, but you don't have to have that in order to get started or to be successful for 10 years. And so we're going to talk about that today. Okay, so just know that I worked hard, I was focused, I was clear about what I was trying to achieve, and I made it happen. But it's not because I can't think of a worse time to start a business. I had to move 3 times in 4 years before I found the right school system for Emily in an apartment I could afford. Debt everywhere, didn't have a job, health insurance, the whole thing. I didn't slide into this easily. It was more like I jumped off a cliff. But that's what I wanted to do, because if I got a job, I was going to be at work. I was in IT at the time, and when you're in IT, you get to work early, you stay at work until it's done. And I didn't want to delegate raising Emily. I wanted to do that myself. It took me a long time to have her, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a mother more than anything, but I needed to provide for us as well. So a couple of years ago, so let me back up again. So my business as a virtual assistant, and I'm still a virtual assistant, is called Rocket Girl Solutions. You can check out my website, rocketgirlsolutions.com. You can check out my services page, see my pricing, all of that. It's all right there. But 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to try to come up with a way to help people who wanted to be VAs. I have a system that works. It's the system that I follow all the time to get clients. I have a way that I handle my pricing. And so I created the VA Connection, which is a professional online community. Really, I'm committed to connecting and educating VAs all over the world. That there's a Facebook group. Many of you belong. We're streaming in there right now. It's been really a joy for me to be able to interact with all of you and to help you get started on your journey. So that's when that started about 2 years ago. Whoops. You know what? I used this presentation yesterday. I was presenting with SCORE, and we had a poll. We do not have a poll. So sorry about that. All right. What is a virtual assistant? I want to get us all on the same page about that. And I think you're going to be really happy to see how broad it is, because I think a lot of people feel like I need this super high-tech skill that I don't have, and that's really not true. So a virtual assistant provides administrative, technical, or creative assistance to clients, right? That's really broad. The key here is, instead of working for one person, having a job, you work for many people virtually, usually from home. So that's the big difference. Now, these are the questions that I've come up with. And let me know if you have any questions about what is a VA. You could also be a bookkeeper. You could do websites. There's a lot of things that you can do and call yourself a virtual assistant. One of the things, well, I'll get to that in a few minutes. So here are the questions I'm going to dive into. Are you ready to work on your own? What do you need to get started? Where do I get clients? How much money can I earn? What training is required? Can I work part-time? And who hires virtual assistants? So those are the questions that I've come up with. If you have other questions, please put them in the chat. I want to address all of your questions. All right. We're going to start with this while you guys are putting questions in the chat. Are you ready to work on your own? The key to being a successful virtual assistant is it's very important that you treat this like a business. Even if this is a side hustle or part-time, there are things you really want to have the mindset of a business owner. So you want to do things like open a business checking account, open a business savings account, and save a percentage of the money that you earn for taxes. You're going to want to make sure you have a good computer, and you're going to track your expenses so you can deduct them from your taxes. It's really about shifting from being in either a job or not a job into owning a business. So, like I said, tracking those things, getting an EIN, an employer identification number, so you don't have to give out your Social Security number. Deciding if you want to be a sole proprietor, that's how I'm working. You can also be an LLC. So really thinking through these steps, and it doesn't have to be like, this big giant thing. You can make the decisions quickly, and you can make them as you're going through, as you're starting to work. But if you want to be successful, this can't be something that you kind of do, when you're thinking about it. Because the thing is that getting clients and keeping the work going, it requires consistency, and it requires some work. And we're going to talk about what that work is. The other thing you have to think about is, are you self-guided? And what I mean by that is, working from home, it would be very easy to get up in the morning, start doing the dishes, start the laundry, organize the pantry, figure out what's for dinner, go to the grocery store. But that's not how I conduct my business. I get up in the morning and really, 8 or 9 until 4:30 when I let the chickens out at night, I'm at my desk. I might stop and eat lunch in the kitchen if Greg's here and I can take a break. But a lot of times I eat right at my desk, which is not a hardship for me. I enjoy it. But you have to have that, it's self-discipline to not only do the client work, but do what it takes to get the work for your clients. So that's a really important question to answer. And then the other one is, how much risk are you willing to take? Now, this has changed for me over time. And in the time of COVID, it's changed even more. So if I have a job and my boss decides that I'm redundant, they don't need me anymore, they're changing the business model, they found someone they like better, fill in the blank. There's what I call a single point of failure, my boss. My boss says I'm done, and I'm done. I have 45 clients right now. If 10 of them said I'm done, I'm still good, because of the way my business is. I actually don't have as much risk as someone with a job. Now, I have to tell you, it took a few years for me to see that and to be comfortable with it. And I did have job envy for a number of years, because I kept thinking, am I an idiot? Like, what am I doing? Why I have to pay my own taxes? I have to track all this stuff, should I just go get a job? But then I realized that if I got a job, someone else would be deciding how much money I make. I can crank the dial up and I can make more money just by bringing on more clients, working more hours. And while it takes effort to do that, it's not as much effort as it takes to climb the corporate ladder and convince someone to give you more money. And I was in corporate for 17 years and I did okay, but I have much more control over things. But I had to get comfortable with the idea that my hand was on the dial and that I could impact how much money I was making. So any questions about this first question? Are you ready to work on your own? You can just put them in the chat. Okay. Next question. What do I need to get started? The first thing you need is a dedicated workspace. It needs to be someplace where you can, set up your work and leave it there. So a desk. For years and years, I worked on a dining room table. Not in my dining room, but I liked it because it was nice and deep, and I had room for my monitors and all of my work and some pictures of my family that I enjoy looking at. Over Christmas, last Christmas, I got a standing desk at IKEA, which I really like, and it's also deep and wide. For the most part, my office has never been more than a couple inches wider than my desk. Because I worked in little nooks. I worked in a bay window in an apartment in my dining room. I worked in a corner of my living room for a while. Before I'm in an office now, but before that, there was like this divided little part of my bedroom I worked in. And now I have a whole office because we're empty nesters. And I finally said, hey, I'm working full time. I'm, making this go. I want to create a space that that feels more like an office. So we painted it and put some new blinds in, and I love it. I love it. But I made that $1 million before I had this. So don't feel like you need that, but you do need a place where you're not setting up all the time. When you're working by the hour, which is how I charge, you want to make sure that all of your time is billable and that you're not wasting time with the setup and finding stuff and all of that. The next thing you need to do to get started, and I can and have done entire webinars just on this, is you need to be articulate about what you do. You need to be able to say it in a way that people know what you're talking about. And I see this as one of the biggest problems when people are starting. And I know in my LaunchPad class, we spend a whole hour on this. And then every time we meet for many weeks, we practice this. So here's what I say. I'm a virtual assistant. I work with solo professionals, people who work on their own, like financial planners and marketing consultants and coaches. And I help them with all the back end administrative work for their business, like updating their websites, sending out their email newsletters, and doing calendar management. Now, and then I stop talking. The tendency when we're new, especially, or if this idea has not been presented to us, is that someone asks what we do, and then you talk for 5 minutes and you are not clear. The person has no idea. The other thing is, I think that people don't want to use the phrase virtual assistant because they think that there's a connotation to it, that they're going, of being like a secretary in my day, and that there's going to be a ceiling for how much they can charge and how much they can earn. And that is not true. That is not true. By saying you're a virtual assistant, people know what you are. I've seen people say, I'm a virtual partner. I work with creative individuals, help them save time. Like, I have no idea what that means, because the point of all of this is not to get hired in the moment someone asks you. It's to plant the seed inside their head. So when someone or they, a week, a month, 2 years later says, I need someone to help me with my blah, blah, the person says, oh, Belinda, hold on. Let me get Belinda, let me get you her email address. And that's how I get my clients. So being articulate is really clear. And please don't, talk about, I work with, creative people who are, I don't even know, heart-centered or something like that. Because
I love the weekly challenge period.
Whoops,
I always feel so energized after.
Oh my gosh, sorry guys, I can't turn this Voxer off. Hold on. So Voxer is an app that I use with my accelerators, and someone just was talking. It's like a walkie-talkie. Hopefully that won't happen again. Okay, so all right, where was I? Oh yeah, so you want to be articulate about what you do. You want to practice it, say it over and over and over until it's very conversational. This is probably one of the most important things I am going to talk about today. So take it seriously. And if you're in the VIP club, there's a vault with about 30 videos in it right now. And there's a whole hour on just this and just getting clients. So, pay attention to that and check that out. You also need to be clear about your pricing. When people are not clear about their pricing, the person you're talking to doesn't know what to do. They're not sure you're in business for real. They're not sure what the next step is. And so the way that I talk about my pricing, let me give you a little background. Well, I'll tell you what I say when someone asks me about my pricing. The first thing I say is it's really simple, because you want it to be really simple. You don't want to get all the way to the gate, and then you start throwing out all this information about if I stand on one foot, it's this, and if I'm wearing a blue shirt, it's that, and this is a one-off, and it's just too hard. It's too hard for everybody, and you're going to stress yourself out, and you're going to stress your client out. So I have something, I call it the Rocket Girl debit card system. Here's how it works. People prepay my time. Now, what I'm saying right now is what I say to the potential client. These are the exact words I use. I say, it's really simple. I have something called the Rocket Girl debit card system. It's a virtual debit card system, a virtual system. Here's how it works. People prepay my time in 5 or 10-hour chunks. 10 hours is $900 or $90 an hour. 5 hours is $500 or $100 an hour. The time is good for a year, and you can use it in any increment you want. I have some clients that buy a debit card every 2 weeks. I have other debit card clients, other clients who buy a debit card once or twice a year. Either way, it works really well. And then I stop talking. Now, if someone says, I'd like the 2-hour option, I do not reinvent myself. What I say is, the way that my business works, I found that the 5 and 10-hour option works, really works well. Or it's not even it really works well, because that leaves a little wiggle room in there. So, what you want to say is, the way I manage my business is the 5 and 10-hour chunks. That seems to work the best for the people who work with me, or something like that. But you don't go off and change everything and throw it away. I have had people say, do you have a nonprofit rate? And I want you to clue you in that nonprofit means they're like not distributing the profit. It doesn't mean they don't make money. I had a very nice salary for years as a director of operations working for a nonprofit. So, and there are nonprofits where they don't make a lot of money, totally, but don't assume that that's what's happening out of the gate. And what I say is, I don't have a nonprofit rate. And if I want to say more, I might say something like, there are nonprofits that I volunteer my services for, but I'd like to keep that separate from my business. You don't have to say a lot. I had someone 2 weeks ago say, oh my, your rates are on the high end of the spectrum. And I agreed with her. I said, you're right, they are. I didn't change them. I didn't feel bad about it. She's right. And I didn't hear from her. But you know what? She's not a good fit because she can't afford me. And that's okay, because everybody can't. And thank goodness, because if they could, I would be drinking from a fire hose, because I already have, over 40. I think this week I have 44 clients, and I'm busy, and it's flowing, and it's working. And some of them need me an hour, a week. Some of them need me 5 hours a week. Some of them need me 2 hours a month, and it all works out. But you want to be clear about your pricing, because if you're wishy-washy, people, and you're giving discounts, people, you're not helping yourself in any way by doing that. So do not work for testimonials. Do not work for experience. You don't need to do that. Don't work, don't give fast start discounts, none of that. You don't need to. You just need to keep telling people what you're doing, get clear about your pricing, and and get the word out. And it takes a little time, but you're going to be doing this for the rest of the time you're a VA. This isn't like you do it a couple of months and then you're set. I still do this. I still do this all the time. Okay. 10 years in. And you start to build up some momentum. So, and you also get experience. So when the woman said to me, you're on the high end of the spectrum, I know, it's okay. And where if she had said that to me when I was $50 an hour 10 years ago, I might have freaked out. I probably would have freaked out, tried to rethink the whole thing. And I'm just here to tell you that the clients who can't afford you and you give a discount to, when the discount is over, they're not going to be able to afford you. So don't set yourself up for that. Don't invest in them and have them invest in you. And then they can't keep going. All right. Because I have all kinds of clients, some that come and go and some that just stay, and it all works. Okay. Where do you get clients? Clients are everywhere. Clients are really everywhere. I have found that when I go to networking events, I'm usually the only VA there. When people find out what I do, like if we go around the room, whether it's Zoom or in person, and I say that exactly what I told you I say. I'm a virtual assistant. I work with solo professionals. I could say entrepreneurs, but I don't really like working for bigger businesses. I like working for single people. But I could say I do admin work for entrepreneurs. Every time someone comes up to me and they're handing me their card, I could use some help, or I planted the seed and they come later. But by saying that over and over, in front of people, getting out there, you'll be really amazed at how much work comes. And you don't want it all to come at one moment, because it takes time to learn how to onboard clients and how to bring them into the fold and work with them. And so especially when you're beginning, you'll set your systems up. You don't have to wait till your systems are set up. You'll set them up as you go. So you have a client, you want to handle how they're going to pay you, and then from there you'll figure out all the other pieces. Now I have a method that I teach in my classes. It's called sprinkling. Sprinkling, think about it as like fairy dust, and you're throwing yourself all over the place wherever you go. Okay, so the major way that I sprinkle is I write an email newsletter. The email newsletter, when I first started my business, it went out every 2 weeks. And I didn't have that much work. And so that was my work, because by writing these email newsletters, I was sending it out to hundreds of people, and they would understand what I did because of these newsletters. Now, I'm going to mention VIP again, because I want to make sure that you understand all of the resources that are available to you from the Virtual Assistant Connection. The members of the VIP club have a course that right now is a bonus. That's actually going to go away in about a week, but it's a bonus, and it's called the Done For You Email Newsletter System. It teaches you how to do your own newsletter. It teaches you how to do newsletter for clients. There are 12 already written and professionally edited newsletters in the system. So if the writing is the problem, and that's why I put them in there, you'll have newsletters all ready to go. And if you wanted to handle that over Thanksgiving or over the weekend, you could be publishing right away and doing the sprinkling. Now, in the sprinkling, I'm not asking for work. I'm not asking for referrals. I am just letting people know what I'm doing. All right, so the email newsletter is a great way, so consider that. And by doing the course, you'll also learn the skill of how to do email newsletters, which is my bread and butter. Their email newsletters are great because almost everybody that's a solo wants one or has one or thinks they need one, which I agree. And they do it month after month. Some of my clients, I do 5 of them, or no, I guess I do 3 or 4 of them every month. And so it just keeps coming. And then other work gets added on because they start to trust me or like me, and they say, oh, well, can you do this? Can you do that? So it's a really great way to launch your business. Other sprinkling things. There's, besides networking, when you network with people, like when I first moved here, I joined this group called the Entrepreneurial Women's Club. And then I made it my business to pick out the women in the group that I liked and have coffee or virtual coffee with them and get to know them. I really was more looking for friends than anything else. And almost everybody that I had coffee with eventually ended up hiring me. And we're friends too, but probably 20 people, that happened. That was the year I made a ton of money, because I had just moved here and I was networking to get myself into the community. So other methods of sprinkling are checking in with people, with emails. Now, none of this sprinkling is prospecting. I'm not trying to figure out who's going to hire me. I'm just sprinkling this information about what I'm doing out to my network. I only keep in touch with people I like. I am not trying to figure out strategically who's going to hire me. It's just way too much work. And there's so many stories. Larry, let me think of a couple of stories. Okay. So I had an online store. I sold personalized baby gifts before I was Rocket Girl. Excuse me. And there was a woman I bought product from for my store. And I didn't know her that well. She lived in Dallas. I lived in Boston. But I met her in New York a couple times when I was doing the buying for my store. Her name is Rebecca. I put her on my email newsletter list. I might have sent her a couple of emails checking in over the years, but I had no idea that she sold her business. One of the things that I do offer in my newsletter and my email signature is a way to get on my calendar for a free 30-minute consultation. Also very critical to the success of my business. I use Acuity, you can use Calendly, you can use Schedule Once, Time Trade, there's a million of them. So one day she's on a calendar. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to her in 5 or 6 years, but I'm sprinkling to her, right? And she gets on my calendar. She sold her business. She's working in a barn. They need help figuring out a portable waiver signing solution for the barn, so the kids and the parents don't have to go into the office at the barn because it's usually separate and to sign. So she hired me. We do it. She goes away. She comes back, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. So now this is years again later, and she's bought a new company and she wants help, and I can help her. So we're probably going to work together. We sort of set the groundwork, and she knows what I can do. I know what she needs, and I know how to do it. So she'll either come back or she won't. But that's a relationship that is 18 years old. 18 years old of just sort of, keeping in touch. So that gives you kind of an idea. Social media is part of this as well, in all different kinds of ways, handwritten notes. And again, that is a whole webinar. I could spend and do hours explaining this in great detail. In fact, if you're in the Facebook group, because we're also streaming on Twitter right now and Periscope, YouTube. If you're in the big virtual assistant group, scroll up to the top, look at announcements. There's a video there. It's an hour, how to get great clients. I explained for a whole hour what sprinkling is, but that's really important as well. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay. So how much can I earn? A lot of that really depends on your skills, but more than that, it depends on your confidence. There are a lot of VAs that are not comfortable asking for more money, and know that sort of beginning admin work is $30, $40 an hour, and then it just goes from there, and I'm doing a lot of, sorry, I've been talking all day, a lot of the same work for, $90 an hour that I did at 50, but I had the confidence to ask for more. Let me tell you my story. Sorry, guys. I really have been talking all day. All right. So I started at $50 an hour. I'm going to just text Greg. He's in the other room, and ask him to bring me a drink. Okay, 1 second. Okay, he'll bring me something. Okay. I'll keep going, sorry. Okay, so I started out at $50 an hour. And the reason I did that was because in corporate, that's about what I made. And I figured that the marketplace had already, sort of vetted that number. I'd made it for a number of years and was comfortable. And that didn't include my benefits and stuff like that, but it was a nice round number. And I thought, okay, that's gonna work. Now, I was fortunate because I didn't know really what a VA was, and I didn't know that people were working for less. And while I was nervous about the $50 an hour, I just went with it. And right away, after I told everybody what I was doing, that I knew, like lots and lots of people over and over and over, people started buying my time. And I didn't have the debit card right away. That came in probably year 2 after learning a lot about why hourly is so good and why flat rate is so hard. That's another webinar that I have. There's in the vault. I have a whole hour on the debit card, how it works, and another whole hour on talking about money and the math. It's because here's the thing that people miss. If you want to earn $50,000, you put $50,000 here, you have to figure out how many hours you're going to work, and then that lets you know your hourly rate. Now, the math has to work, and I can tell you, it's not almost impossible. It is impossible to work, to bill more than probably 35, 37 hours a week. It's very difficult because it's not how much you work, it's how much you bill that you can, charge your clients for. And it's a long day because, it's when you're focusing on their work, you're getting it done, you've got all, everything going, and that's billable. It's not the time in between clients. It's not when you're getting lunch. It's not, it's not like a job. It's billable time when you're producing the product for the clients. Okay, so what else do I want to tell you about earning? So what I did was I started at $50 an hour, and then after I got a handful of clients, I raised it to 60. And I just kept doing that, really sure that every time I did that it was going to be the last client was my last client, because I didn't believe that I could do this. Now, over the course of several years, I raised my rates all the way to $120 an hour. And that year I brought on 26 clients. The problem with that was that I didn't like how they were treating me, meaning that they wouldn't give me these like juicy projects. They were treating me like you would treat like, someone that makes $500 an hour. You're kind of in and out like an attorney or, your accountant, depending on how that works. So, so I didn't want to, I didn't want to be treated like that. I wanted to get into these juicy projects. So I looked at where the sweet spot was for me, and it was right at $90 an hour. So I just did all the pricing for all of my clients, and I came up with the 2 tiers of 10 hours for $900 or 5 hours for $500. And honestly, if someone is not able to invest $500 in their business, that's completely fine, but I'm not a good fit for them, because what I'm offering, if they can't afford it, it's too stressful. So I don't ever try to talk people into working with me ever, because I don't want to put them in that situation. So let's see if there's anything else. Do you guys have any questions about pricing? That's usually a pretty hot topic. You guys are being kind of quiet. The confidence is hard. It came from practicing saying my pricing out loud, that where I say, oh, it's simple. I didn't say that at first. I didn't say it like that at all. It was really difficult, but I saw the value in it over time. And then, when I hit my stride and I started to have the clients come that could afford me, it's really great. And there's so much less stress involved. All right, I'm going to keep going. Training. Okay. 2 things I want you to do. One of them is I want you to go to the vaconnection.com, and up at the top, there's a blue bar, and it says, download the ultimate VA money-making task list. I want you to download it. It's 12 pages. You have to give me your email, and when you do, you'll start getting a newsletter from me every Monday morning. That's my little bird who's sitting next to me. Sorry for the chirping. He's usually quiet. This is kind of an unusual live stream tonight. So I want you to download it, and I want you to look at all the things you can do. You're going to have your mind blown by all the things you can do that you haven't even thought of. The second thing I want you to do is go to rocketgirlsolutions.com. That's my website. Click on the services tab and look at all the things that I offer. Copy those pages, put it in a Word document, and then go through and make your services page. Okay, look at how I have it organized, both in the ultimate money-making task list and also on my services page. So Christina's here. Hi, Christina. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. For your newsletter, once you got really good at it and you can put it together in 15 minutes, a bit confused how that works. Can you go a little deeper on that? My newsletter, once it takes me, sorry, I'm having bird problems. I'll introduce you. This is my bird. Turn around, Rudy. His name is Rudy, and he sits next to me on a perch, and he's usually very quiet, but for some reason right now, he is not. Okay, all right. So the newsletter typically takes me, okay, Facebook user, she's struggling. I'm going to just wait a minute so we can answer this question. Okay, as far as billing a client. Okay, so let me see if I got this. It looks like you're on it looks like you might be, there's somebody that's saying interesting things, and I think it's because they're doing auto recognition or something, voice. So how I build a client is, so I've got the Rocket Girl debit card system where it's 5 or, they buy 5 or 10 hours. And then what happens is, this is going to happen as soon as I get off tonight, because I've got 2 newsletters to do tonight. So what happens is I start the clock. And for me, what that means is jotting down there what time it is. And then I will open, my email, get the Word document going, open up MailChimp, get everything set up. And then I'll take care of all the details. I'll send the client the test, close everything down, and then note the time and toggle. So how I bill the client is for the time that it takes. Now, I used to do it flat rate, but every client is really different, and I want to get paid for all my time. And I also don't ever want to get in a situation where I'm getting angry. So, and what I mean by that is, feeling taken advantage of, or, something I've usually made up in my head. So I have a client named Sarah. Well, let me back up. I have another client named Sue. When Sue gives me her newsletter, it's all buttoned up. It's like copy, paste, boom, the whole thing in and out, social media, an hour, boom. Sarah, who I love, it takes 2 hours. Last time it took 2.5 hours. Sarah doesn't care. I have explained it to her very nicely. Hey, just want to let you know, if you want to do the edits before I put it in MailChimp, it'd probably be more affordable. She's like, oh, I like to do it that way. I'm like, okay. Sarah is a love bug. Every year for our anniversary, we just had our 4th anniversary, she sends me toys for my chickens. I love her. I went to Texas to speak at the IVA conference in San Antonio, and I visited her. She lives in Texas. So my point is that everyone's different, and so that's why I charge by the hour. It feels fair. And, I was talking to another VA the other day, and she was saying, oh my gosh, they're asking me to do this and this and this. And I said, hey, put on some music. You can charge by you charge by the hour. It's a good thing. But sometimes I had to learn how to adjust my attitude, because sometimes I felt like I was wasting my time, but I'm actually earning money. And I'm clear with my clients when I'm wasting time. I'll say, it could be faster. And if they want me to do it their way, okay, all right, I'll do that. So let me see if, okay, so Christina, I hope that answered the question. And if not, let me know. Oh, wait, here, let's see, okay. So that's how I build a client. And then what happens is, from that 5 or 10 hours, the time gets deducted. I send them an email every Monday morning, and they know how much time. Okay, I answered the question. Okay, good. That's a good question. Okay, so right here, I am nowhere near setting up yet, but I worry about not being able to deliver what I promise if hurdles do come up. How do I approach that if you can't deliver to a client? That's a really good question. And I totally get that, because it's so scary in the beginning, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So you're going to have to count on eating some time. And that's okay, because you probably have more time, because if you're not working and you're working on your business. So here's what I would do. I started out with things that I either knew how to do or I understood how they worked, okay? So email newsletters. I did a newsletter for my own business, Blueberry Babies. I knew how Constant Contact worked. I knew how to import the list, so that's why I'm telling you about this newsletter done for you course, because to join the VIP club, it's $35 a month. And I am so okay if you want to join for 2 months and do it, and then you've got everything you need and you want to, leave the club. The course will go away, but the knowledge, if you work through it, will be there. So it teaches you how to do the newsletter. So I started with the newsletters because I understood that. Then what happened was sorry, I'm reading the comments and thinking at the same time. And then someone said, well, can you put it on my website? Now, I had a website that I built. It was really basic. And I said, yes, because I did my own newsletter. So I learned how to do it. And then I put it on my website. And so then I could do that for them. And then I put it on LinkedIn, and then people saw me do that on LinkedIn. And when they hired me, they said, can you do it on LinkedIn? Or I would say, let's do a newsletter. Here's all the things we can do with it. So even if it was just 3 things, which it was, that I could talk to them about offering these services. So you don't want to get in over your head. If you've never set up a shopping cart and you're not technologically savvy, don't tell them you can do that. And here's the thing. You don't have to do everything. So I execute on social media, meaning I take the content and I'll put it into Buffer, Meet Edgar. I know how to do that. I don't know how to write the content. I write my own content for my business, but I can't write content for someone else's business. So I'll say to them, let me set up a spreadsheet for you. This happened today. I'll show you what kind of content is relevant. And then either you can hire someone to do that, or you can do it and then come back and then I'll do the social media piece myself. I don't do graphics. I don't do web development, and I definitely do not do writing. However, I do really the implementation of all those things. I've worked with over 200 clients. Nobody's had a problem with that. I have a great graphics guy. I recommend him, and we all work together. It works out really well. So that's the thing. Start slow. Start with things you're comfortable with. I made a lot of money on PowerPoint. I actually don't have newsletters tonight. I have 2 PowerPoint presentations to do. I made a lot of money formatting Word documents for a coach who gives handouts when she makes these books when she goes into big clients. So it doesn't have to be all this Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, stuff. It really doesn't. I do very little of that. I have done it and I know how, but I would say the majority of the money that I have made has not been doing that. Okay, so I'm struggling to set the right price. I don't really know how to do it. So here's the thing, you just pick a price. You just pick one. You have to be comfortable with it. If you're just starting out and you're unsure, $30. Just, start with $30. Now, if you go say that you make you are charging $30 an hour and the first 2 people don't hire you, do not think that's the problem. It could be how you're talking about it. It could be you're talking too much. It could be a lot of things, but 1 or 2 people is not a case study on why you shouldn't be a certain rate, but you have to be comfortable. Like I said, I started at 50. I was scared. I was definitely scared. You saw the picture of my daughter. I needed to handle this. There was like no plan B. You just have to set the price, and then you'll change it over time. And you saw, I just mentioned, I raised it too high, and I had to lower it. And a lot of people might have thought, that was a failure. It wasn't a failure. It was a success because I figured it out. And a couple of clients were like, what are you doing? But you know what happened too? One of my clients, Bob, who I talk about a lot, is one of my biggest clients. And what he did when I lowered the rate, $30 an hour, he started buying twice as much time. So I had twice as much work, twice as much money. And I didn't, $90 an hour, that's a solid rate. I'm fine with that. And now I'm an integral part of his team doing all kinds of work for him. So, so that works. And then, you know what? So someone's asking this question. It's a part of another question that I'm going to jump back to, but your rates don't have to be relevant to where you live. My clients are not where I live. I have a couple clients where I live, but I live in Connecticut. I have clients in Chicago, Texas, Boston, Florida. I'm just trying to think where they all are. England, Switzerland, so it's really what you're charging, not, if you're somewhere where people don't make a lot of money, it doesn't matter, because once you get the word out, and that's the great thing, you can tell your cousin in, Oregon, and they can tell their people. So this whole referral thing is really great. All right, so this is the question. What kind of school prep is needed to be a VA? Well, there's a couple of things. So I have a class, it's called the VA LaunchPad. It's starting in January.
I agree with that.
Oh my gosh, sorry. I don't know how to make this stop. I've got silent mode on, but there's something about this app that is, it just keeps, people tease me because they call it, it's called Voxer, and they always are telling me how I'm butt boxing. Okay, I just closed it, so hopefully that won't happen. Okay, sorry guys, this has been a little bit of a circus. Okay, so I have a course, it's called the LaunchPad. It's starting in January. It's open to 8 people. It's really a step-by-step course on the running of your business, the skills that you need, because the apps are always going to change. The things your clients are asking for you they're always going to be new and change. I learn new things every single day, building on the skills that I already have. But how to handle a client, how to get a client, how to handle your pricing, and all of the talking about it and hashing it out that needs to be done so that you're confident. That's what happens in this course. It's 12 weeks. We meet 1 hour a week on Zoom. You have access to me via email, and I'm really committed to the success of the people in the class. That's why it's only 8 people. And the thing about this too is the people who have taken this course and applied themselves have clients, they have websites, they have businesses, they are in business in 12 weeks. Everybody doesn't do it. Everyone doesn't apply themselves that way, but the people who have the time and the drive and do it, I could name many, many people that have taken the class. This is it's on Thursdays. The next one's tomorrow, and I think we're in week 10, and the next one's going to start in January, and enrollment will be opening soon. So keep an eye out for that. So that's really that's really something that can help you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've got a little bit more time, so I'm going to go through all of this. Okay, so get clear on your services. And what I was just talking about is the thing that I think people need the most help with is the business of running your business. Because if somebody hands you, asks you, they ask you a question, can you do this, can you do that? You can pretty much decide in the moment, and you'll get better at that really fast. And again, I'm sitting here with all this confidence and all these answers because I've been doing this for 10 years. I was not like this in the beginning, but I have found someone to help me who understood how to do this, and I figured it out along the way. And it took some time for the confidence to kick in, for sure. Okay, and someone else is saying thank you. Okay. Can I work part-time? Absolutely. With some caveats. You have to consider the type of work. If you are managing someone's calendar and they need you every day, I mean, this is common sense, but I'm just saying it out loud. And you're working Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's not going to work. So what you need to really do is set the expectations. I'm available at these times. I have a client who has another VA, which some of my clients do. And she always felt like she couldn't find her VA when she was supposed to be at her desk, and it caused her a lot of anxiety because she didn't know when she could count on her. So they came up with a system where a text message gets sent, I'm at my desk, I'll be here till 2, and then the client can send information, and you just need to set the stage, you need to set the expectations, and you need to keep a consistent schedule, because what you're really selling when you're a VA is the attitude, I got this. That's what they want to know. They don't care how many times, most of the time, you've done whatever it is they need you to do. Like with one of my clients needed me to do online calendaring. I learned how to do it in my 20s, which is a long time ago. But when he asked me if I could do it, yeah, I could do it. I hadn't done it for anyone else for a long time, but I knew how to do it. And it took some figuring out, but I knew how to do it. So you want to have a consistent schedule. You want to set expectations. Okay, is the LaunchPad a set course, or can it be done at my own pace? So it's both. So how it works is we meet on Zoom once a week for an hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes my classes, they run a little longer, so people should just budget that much time. And I'm happy to do it if there's questions. And I bring a subject. So the first one is like, getting set up. The next week is talking about your work. Then, and it goes on. We walk through this path, and I'm like actually, holding your hand through this curriculum. You get the recordings, you get the MP3. It goes into a course that I use Kajabi, so it's all in a little bundle, password protected, and you have access to that for as long as the VA connection is around, which I'm hoping is going to be a really long time. So you can go through it. It's good to be on the calls, but I have had a couple of people successfully take it, unable to make it to the calls. But all the information is there. and the slide decks are there, so you can really, you can watch it. And in fact, I encourage people to participate in the class and then watch the class later again, because there's so much, that we miss, and our notes just aren't as great as we think they are. So that's what that's about. Okay, so it's a little bit of both. Yeah, you can't know everything. You totally cannot. Okay, so yesterday, my client, Michelle, she gets me on the phone. It was kind of funny because she seemed a little nervous. She was talking to me about something, and she said, okay, I have a project for you. And she said, I want to move my QuickBooks data from my desktop to the online version. And I said, I don't think you can do that, but let me check. And she said, well, you can. She had booked a whole half hour. She said, let me just get back to me. And I said, just give me 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes. I said, give me a second. I Googled it right there. Google is our friend. I have the whole thing. I say, yeah, you can do it. This is how it works. Let me send you the link so you can send it to your IT guy. And she was making it this huge, big thing. And it turned out to be really simple. I used to never want to say, I don't know, or I'll Google it. Now it's become part of what I say all day, because my clients don't want to Google it, or they're afraid they're not going to find the right information, or they're not going to know what it means. And so what I was hiding has actually become a secret weapon, which is Google. Because after a while, you're doing it for 10 years, you figure out how to phrase the question to get the answer like that, right? So yeah, you don't need to know everything. You can't know everything. And clients ask me questions that I have no idea all the time. The thing is to remain calm and figure it out. That's the whole thing. Okay. All right. So I think we went over this. We've got one. Okay. This is really quick, and the timing is great. All right. If you're charging by the hour and a client gives you a project which you believe you should charge more for, example, a set price, how would you approach that? I do it hourly. The only thing I do not do hourly is project management for websites. So it's my flat rate, which is $3,000. It started less, but it's at $3,000 now. Plus they have to pay the web developer and the writer. They have to pay everybody else. I'm just managing the project. And the reason is, I have to tell you from experience, I'm going to give you a really extreme kind of hysterical example of this. So David is a client from Boston. I love David. Like most of my clients, he's not technical, which is why he needs me. And he came to me and he said, we just got Infusionsoft. We're going to do webinars. I need you to set up a promo code. And David he came down to Connecticut to help me with the nonprofit thing for free. So I'm like, David, do not buy my time. I'm just going to give me your login. I'll set up the promo code, because I knew it would take me 10 minutes, right? And I didn't want him to feel obliged to have 10 hours. Okay. So he says, no, I'm going to need other things. So I'm going to hire you. Okay, great. Love David. Still a client years later. When I got into his Infusionsoft account, there was no landing page. There was no credit card processing set up. They didn't have a merchant account with Stripe. They didn't have a price. They didn't have anything. But David, sweet, lovely David, just knew that he wanted to offer a promo code, and could I provide that? He didn't realize all the other stuff that was going to happen. And this project ended up being like 15 hours. So the problem with flat rate and the problem with not charging by the hour is that your clients don't know what they don't know, and you don't know what they don't know. And I just got in trouble quite a few times before I said, hey, uncle, I'm not hands up, I'm not doing this anymore. So when a client wants to know how much it costs, how much time it will take, I'll say, it really depends on X, Y, and Z. So we have a meeting, because I had a client, I can set up an email newsletter for an organized person from scratch, start to finish, the banner, the everything, hour and a half. I had a client, 10 hours, we still didn't send it because she didn't know her passwords. She didn't know how to, so without her passwords, I couldn't export this and I couldn't import that. It was a tangled up mess. It was so confusing. I actually met her in person. She was local, because it was such a mess. And I tell that story to clients. Like, this is the range here. And I say, I will do everything I can to do this as quickly as possible and efficiently as possible, but there's a range. And once they understand that you're not trying to, kind of ding them for more money, that's how I handle it. First time it happened, I had, my little bird here is talking to himself. in the mirror. It was setting up webinars, and I asked the client, are we going to use PayPal? He said, yes. I said, do you have an account? Yes. He did not have an account. So now I did a flat rate project, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have to do this for him. I'm not getting paid for it. And it's making me grumpy. And I don't want to be grumpy. I want to be happy, and I want my clients to be happy. And I don't want to have to keep talking about money all the time. So they buy a chunk. It gives us some runway. We can get some stuff done. They see how the project's going. It's very rare that I have a project, that's some big giant chunk and the client doesn't know that. But through communication, if something is taking a lot longer than I thought, I'll stop and let them know. The other thing I do is if I have no idea, I'll say, let me spend 15 minutes. Let me just go in and poke around and see, how different this is from what I understand I need to do. And then I'll get back to you. And I can, at that point, see, is their website a disaster? And I have no idea how this thing is even held together. It's like with glue. Or is it beautiful and it's easy and I'm going to be able to make these updates? So people are willing to invest 15 minutes, half an hour, and I just tell them ahead of time. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. And it just takes all of the angst away. I didn't do this for about a year, and and the other thing was I was working on retainer for a while. I had one client had me on a retainer for $1,200, and since I didn't have an hourly rate, I didn't know how much to work. Do I work all the time or do it? So, and sometimes there wasn't enough work that I thought was worth $1,200, and the relationship ultimately ended, and it was so stressful for me. So that's my long answer. All right. Okay. If you do a project, do you estimate how many hours you need to do it? Yeah, if the client asks, and they usually do, and after some time, you'll get experience. Now, in the beginning, when I was working on something and I realized, that feeling, you're like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I wanted to learn it, and the client did not ask me to learn it. I went in saying I knew how. I stop the clock, I handle it, I figure out what's wrong. This doesn't happen anymore, but if I make a mistake, like let's say I added the MailChimp people to the wrong list and I have to take it apart, I don't charge the client for that. But you'll get better, you'll get more confident, you'll know where the holes are that you don't want to fall into. So I do try to work with them. But think about this. A website could take 5 hours, or it could be a multi-million-dollar project at an ad agency. A newsletter, same thing. So you talk to the client about, we'll do it one step at a time, and this is what it typically takes. You'll get better at it. But for the most part, my clients are not coming to me with giant projects. There are some VAs that do like that. They'll do like a whole product launch. But usually the people who are doing that, they have some experience on it, how much time that should take, and ask them, because you're getting paid for your time. So if they want you to try to do it in 2 hours, you can say, I'll do that, and I'll let you know an hour in how it's going, and then if they want to give the work to someone else, that's not a failure on their part. It's a decision that they're making about how they want to use their resources. And I do say that to clients. I'll say, do you want me to do this thing here, or would you like to do it? Because they don't always want to pay me for data entry. I get that. Data entry should probably be less than $90 an hour, but sometimes they want me to because they just don't even want to talk about it. They just want it handled. So everyone's different. So just know that. Let's see. If I work 15 minutes, I debit 15 minutes. Yes. So here's how this works. Because you have to be fair to people. I can't charge someone $90 for something that took me 15 minutes because they're going to go away pretty fast, right? Because it's not a good value. If someone asks me a quick question, yes or no, in an email, I don't need to do anything. I just know the answer. I charge them 5 minutes. If I have to think about it, and kind of contemplate the answer or formulate the answer, it's 10 minutes. The minute I open up an application, it's 15 minutes. And then, or what it takes, because I could spend an hour with these 5-minute things and not have any billable time. So I am careful about that, and I track my time. Every time I do something, I put it in I put it in Toggle every single time. Yeah, what else did I want to say about that? And I round up, And if they schedule a 30-minute meeting with me and we talk for 20 minutes, I bill them for 20 minutes. And I tell them that because I want to be fair about it. And, if a client cancels 20 times, not 20, but like say I'm starting to, scheduling a meeting is becoming a thing that's taking my time, I'll charge them for 10 minutes, because it's using my time in that way. And no one complains. No one even asks me to account for my time. And it's probably because I'm efficient and I'm fast and I do things that I know how to do. In the beginning, it probably wasn't like that, but I was charging a lot less, and that was fine. Okay, you are welcome. Yeah, no, there's no questions that you can't ask here in this forum. We all started out not knowing anything. What my business looks like now is because all the things that I do well, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Every single thing. I let people who I shouldn't have let hire me. So now I have a list and I have an internal system of who I will not work with. And as soon as I hear them, like they lead with money, how much does it cost? I'm like, this person can't afford me because that's where we're starting. So, if they're value driven and they want something for their business, thank you, you're welcome. That's a different conversation than how much will this cost. Also pay attention to who refers them, because people are alike. It's very interesting. If I have a client that's like a talker, she'll refer a talker. And if they want to talk, that's fine. But it's good. I work by the hour. I have clients who talk about their family on the phone with me, totally fine. But the hour starts when the hour starts. And I don't chit chat. I don't ever bring my personal life in. If someone asks me how I'm doing, it's like, great, I'm having a good day. I'm ready to work. So the answer to who hires virtual assistants is really everyone who understands what we do. And like I said, there's a range from, $30 an hour to, $120 an hour. It just depends on what you do. And so people who use virtual assistants are business owners. So these are who some of my clients are: small business owners, authors, financial planners, coaches, consultants, nutritionalists, recruiters, real estate agents, and I've had a VA in the past, and I have one right now, and she helps keep me organized. Okay, let's see, Erica. Sorry about the bird. This is like a funny time of day to have a webinar. I'm a newbie, and I'm so glad I found this Facebook page. It's been so helpful so far. Erica, you are welcome. You are very welcome. And someone else says, thank you. You're welcome. I love doing this, you guys. Love doing this. All right, so I'm going to, because of the time, and I have to go put the chickens away, I want to just, remind you of what we talked about here. The replay of this is going to be available, and I just want to talk to you about the VIP club. If you want more access to me, you want to be able to ask me questions one-on-one in a Zoom call, the VIP club is for you. So 2 live calls a month. Our next one is Friday. The members of the club submit questions. A couple of them have stumped me this week, so I'm going to have to do a little research about what they're asking me about, which I love. And I give them the answers. They come on live with me in Zoom. It's usually, a pretty intimate group, and they get their questions answered. And also, we have time at the end for people who didn't submit questions almost all the time. We have a private Facebook group. I'm in there all the time. It's probably the longest a question goes without being answered is a couple hours. And then sometimes what happens is if we can't get the answer through that, we'll go on we'll do a live, and the member will join me, and in our private group we'll talk it through, and then we record it so other people can see it as well and learn from it. We had one of those on Tuesday. It was really cool. It was actually a member showing a cool thing that she learned. We have accountability challenges that are amazing. People get so much stuff done, really fun. The next one's going to be April or May, and then the vault. In the vault, there are 35 or 40 webinars, hour-long trainings specifically about how to get clients, how to price, all of the things that I've been talking about. The weekly webinars happen every Wednesday. They're available for replay for an hour, and then they go in the vault. Also in the vault are other webinars that I have given on other places. All of my checklists, my templates, all that stuff, it's all in the vault. And then people ask me about job opportunities. So in the VIP club, there's a special section where I post those job opportunities just for VIP. And then the Done For You email newsletter course, that's going to be available until Thanksgiving as a bonus. And then I'm going to change things up a little bit. But the Done For You email newsletter system is a part of that as well. And it's $35 a month. You can leave at any time. The people in the club are awesome. They are, we're friends. You know, we support each other, and it's a great place to be. So I'd love to have you if you're interested. Okay, everybody. Let's see. I think that's the end of the questions. I wonder, come here, Birdie. Oh, he doesn't want me to pick him up. I was going to say he's been talking so much, I'm going to bring him on to say goodbye. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'll see you guys in the group. Thank you for being such, so great and asking so many questions. If there's more questions, I'll watch the comments. Just tag me, and I'll come back around and answer them. And in the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow in the Facebook group. Okay, guys? Bye.